And here are you.
Why is this door locked now?
Beta requested the use of that room as her personal space. I have locked it at her request.
Okay. I guess I should go back.
Interesting. Locked personal space. Think she's doing it for privacy? Or she's doing it because she's doing something that we might consider fraudulent in some way.
Hello. Hey, you
I'm
got a
thinking the
second?
latter.
I suppose.
Or I mean the former. Whoops.
So have you been able to make use of your expertise?
I guess so. Gaia transferred a lot of data on Hephaestus to study.
And? Any insights?
It looks like it's been modifying its code, increasing in size and complexity over the years. There's a lot to analyze still.
Okay, well... keep at it, I guess. So have you been upstairs at all?
Not really. Varl sometimes comes down here to talk. He keeps asking if I'm okay. I thought he only wanted to know about my productivity, but... it's almost like he actually wants to talk to me.
Yeah.
Are you somehow
I think he
surprised?
does.
Oh, I mean, yeah, the person that she's... You know what? I have to actually do a small comparison here just because I keep getting annoyed at people who compare a certain other character and don't understand as to why that person acts the way that they do. Frey from Forspoken. You know how every single person who has played that game always complains about Frey's attitude and the way that she behaves and, you know, the choices that she makes throughout the early parts of the game particularly? She has, like, she's what? She's like, how old was she actually? Didn't she barely hit like 18 years old or something in the game? Like, she's very young. She's in her late teens only, you know? Very late teens. And she's been growing inside, or pretty much like in a busy city in New York. And she's been scraping by from one adoption to another throughout her early parts of her, you know, adolescent years. And she's basically just had to, like, you know, have the most, like, unfortunate, like, growing or the upbringing that you can hope, pretty much. So, like, a person in her position, how in the heck would she have grown up to be any, like, more brighter or decent person than we find her in the game for the first time? Like, her person is very authentic. The type of person that, you know, she would grow up to be as in the game if you also had the same circumstances as she had in her life. And that strongly impacts on how she behaves, what she says, and, you know, just everything that she chooses to be in that game, especially the early parts of that game. And that is, like, a good example of where, like, this definitely, like, takes a really bad example from is her, like, dialogue choices and what she chooses to say at a moment. Like, she's very, like, I guess angsty, we could say. And she's very, like, rebellious, very, like, feisty, I guess we could say. And that kind of, like, sassiness that she has in her dialogue is something that most people just could not handle in a game that is meant to be like a, you know, fantasy game in the world of Athia. And I understand that, but you have to, like, understand that she's just being very authentic to the character that she's supposed to be. Like, there is nothing wrong with the presentation of what Frey does or is in the game. The fundamental choice of having her be the protagonist, though, from the, you know, kind of upbringing that she's had, now that is a choice that maybe was questionable, but they chose to have a character like that. They thought, the studio that made Forspoken, they thought that it would be very amusing if they take some average, like, New Yorker who's had very, like, tumultuous, like upbringing in their adolescent years, and they would take a person like that and put it in a fantasy world where every single like thing that they do or choose to do could actually be the difference between saving another world and not saving another world from peril, you know? And they thought that concept would be very amusing. And that's what they chose to do. And it just turns out that, you know, that's a big part of why many people did not like that game. And I can understand it. I totally can. But like, if you just authentically believe and just go with what Frey is in the game, there is nothing wrong with her presentation whatsoever. In fact, if you get later in the game, especially through like the midway point in the game, you do like you get the mid to the late game of the game, the story points, those story points of the game, then you get the DLC. There is some really fucking nice moments in Forspoken that most people who are ever played the game will have ever even seen those moments. And that just makes me sad. And I was gonna be one of those people too, who were never gonna experience that. But I was so fucking glad that I went back and gave the game another go, instead of just giving up on it. But yeah, to circle back onto her character, like, it makes sense that she does not believe that other people that she, you know, is around, like, don't want to talk or acknowledge her only for the reasons of her productivity, you know? Because she has only known, like, Beta here has only known people in her life, as well as artificial intelligences, who have only cared about her for the gains in her possible intelligence as an advisor, as a companion possibly, or as a colleague, or, as she said in her own terms, for productivity use. So, you know, have her be like the problem solver, the like engineer of the group, the scientist possibly, or whatever, you know? Only like a person with like, you know, what is this word? Like, only a person that you can use for your own advantage as like a, fuck, what is it called in English? With common benefits, I guess you could say, yeah. Not for your, you know, personal sake.